Hello everybody, my name is Roger and I'm actually doing my very first woodworking YouTube video. I thought I'd try this because I've watched a lot of your videos and learned quite a bit, and maybe I have a few tricks and things that other people can learn too. And I actually thought this would be a good project. I have a customer that asked me to make a bench out of their headboard and footboard. And I've seen many of the videos that people have created, but this one's going to be a little bit different, so I thought it might be fun to show people what we're going to do. What I have here is obviously the headboard and footboard, and this is the way it came with a curved top. And what they want me to do is they actually want to try to make it a bench with some storage in it, so the bench will lift up. So what I'm going to do is flip this piece, take it apart and flip this piece over so the flat edge is up, and that will be the flat for the bench to go on. So that's the first thing I'm going to do. And then I'm going to build, I'll show you, I'm going to build basically a box, the lid, and we'll watch the progression as we go. So hope you enjoy it. Okay, so I was able to pull the posts off of the footboard of the bed, and I just kind of mocked it up right now. I flipped it over, so now you can see the flat edge is going to be along the top, and this will be the base for the bench. But I do know that this is going to be way too low for the bench, so I have to route these out so I can put them in a little bit higher for the bench. Also, I noticed that the way the posts were and where the old brackets were, I flipped one post, or the posts, to the opposite side of where they were originally, so that the good finish is on the outside of the posts. The way they were before, if I used them, there would be some of where the old brackets were that would show too much. And so I'm just going to flip them around, and I can drill holes for the handles, which I'll show you later. So I was able to accomplish the next step. I was able to take a router and extend the mortises that were here a little bit higher on both sides. So now the board is flipped over, and I was able to raise it to the height that I needed to be a bench. And then I'll start working on the box, and we can start putting this thing together. Okay, so I built the box next. This is gonna, like I said, serve two purposes. One is the storage the customer wants, where the bench seat will fold up and they can put pillows or blankets or whatever they want inside this. And secondly, this is going to be the structure for which the headboard and the footboard are going to be held together, and the bench seat is going to rest on. So you can see what I did was I basically built it, and this is a divider, and this serves a couple purposes. One is the bench is going to be able to rest on this also, so it's not going to be a full span of 5 feet or so. And secondly, I'm going to set it up so that this is going to have a little lever on it, so that when you lift the bench seat up, it'll lock in place. It'll hold itself up, and then when you're done with putting things in or taking it out, you just have to pull the lever out and set the bench seat down, so it's going to be a little bit safer that way. I'll show you that later. It's starting to come together. I spent the last 4 hours filling in all the old mortises and the spots where the old brackets for the bed frame brackets used to mount inside there. And the customer wanted me to use, since this is a family heirloom, wanted me to use as much of the old wood as I could in making this bench. So what I did was I was able to use the old spindle that used to run across here. And obviously, I cut out the arms and left these pieces a little long before I mount them, so I make sure I have enough. And then I had enough left that I could actually cut these out and make filler strips using the old finish on the outside in some of these mortises and grooves. And also, where the spindle used to run here, these ends used to go into the holes. There were holes there, and I had turned these. So what I did was I was able to take a piece of these pieces of this, turn them on my lathe, and actually make plugs with the old finish on the end, and just glue them in there. So you'll be able to. I'll see if I can add a picture of those to the video. And lastly, you can see I built a temporary stand just to hold up the box, and you can see how the box is going to mount to this to the headboard or the footboard, and I have pocket holes here that are going to drive through the box into these posts and help add and basically that's how the structure is going to be held together. I began the process now of putting this together. So I took the footboard, I basically laid it down on its front and attached the box to it. What I did was I countersunk some screws that would go through the box into that front face board on the footboard. And then also I drilled some pocket holes in the corners here that will go into the legs. And then and I put the pocket screws in there. So now it's ready to flip up, and I'll show you the next step on the sides. I wanted to show you what I'm doing on the ends of this bench. Obviously you can see this is the end of the box, and I'm going to take two of these spacer boards, mount one on the top and one on the bottom here, glue and brad, nail them down. And then I've got another board that matches the side that I'm going to fasten with these pocket holes. And it's going to sit basically like that, so I can drive the pocket screws into both of the posts. A couple of reasons. One is I had to bring this out a little bit so that the screws, the pocket screws, would actually get more toward the center of the post, which would be obviously a lot stronger. But also, aesthetically, if I'm going to mount another board here that matches the wood. That board would have been way too far in, I think, aesthetically, and it wouldn't have looked right. So it kind of serves two purposes: to help make the bench look better, but also it's going to be a lot stronger to do it this way. Looks like it's going to turn out really well. You can see here I've got the board mounted and glued up and bradded in, and you can see the pocket holes here. So now this is going to be able to slide right up, and also this is going to help me keep it square because the board is square. These are going to mount, and it's going to be a lot easier to keep everything plumb and level. I just finished screwing it all together, but before I turn it around, I wanted to show you the back. This is an original board here. I never touched it. I left it as it was. I was able to fasten the box to this with a couple of screws. And then, of course, you can see all the pocket holes on both sides that hold it together there. So I'm going to turn it around, and I'll take some more video, and then we'll start working on the seat. Here it is all put together, and I turned it around so you can see the face of it. All I have to do now is mount the arms, and I should be able to just drill the holes and mount these inside, and then put some screws in from the back to be able to hold the arms in place. I'll show you that later. It's coming along nicely. As you can see, I now have the arms installed on both sides. That went in pretty well. I also have the bench seat that's been cut and fit and mostly sanded, not quite finished yet. So that'll be nicely hinged on here at some point. I also had to make little extensions for the bench seat so it would go kind of out between these posts on the side, and also to cover up the edges of the box over here. They're gonna, as you can see, I had to curve them a little bit to go around the posts. It just wasn't going to look right if I just cut them straight, so they're going to mount kind of like that. I also made new pine sides that are going to get just probably brad nailed and glued and stained on the sides of the bench over here and both sides. And lastly, I made some stringers. That's what I call them anyway. They're going to go on the back side of the bench seat itself. They're going to kind of screwed and glued about every maybe 1/3, well, whatever it is, about a foot in from each end. It should help the bench seat stay straight and not bow over time. It also should help from people sitting on it if it bows a little bit, which it shouldn't, I hope, but I'll put a screw in to make sure it goes into each board. It'll help hold it straight over time and hopefully help keep it from coming apart in the long run. So it's looking pretty good. I'm getting kind of excited. Well, here it is. It turned out really well. I'm really pleased with it. Just got a few little touch-up things to do on the finish before I deliver it to the customer, but you wouldn't be able to see that for the video anyway. I finished the bench seat. I used a gel stain to try to match the color as close as I could, and also I used a wipe-on poly urethane to finish it. I used it on the bench seats, the fins, and the end boards that are on the ends of the bench. And also, as I mentioned earlier in the video, I was going to show you I built a holder for the lid, so that Obviously, it holds it open, again, to make it easier to put things in, take things out. And also a safety feature for children, because it's a fairly heavy lid, and I think you have to have some kind of control over it when you're opening and closing it, obviously. And since the ends sort of come like this, it's kind of like a scissors, and I think it's going to be a lot safer to be able to have this thing not swinging by itself so much. So, turned out really well. So I hope you enjoyed this video. This is my first one, and we'll see how it goes, and maybe I'll make another one with another project coming up. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you.